Welcome to the High Impact Man podcast. High impact men from across the nation sharing their stories of inspiration, encouragement, and hope.
Gosh, seek transformational relationships.
What you're hearing from the culture is not right.
Pick up the six, you know what I mean? But you never know who your six sometimes is.
Stop being less.
To help others become the virtuous leaders they are called to be and that our nation desperately needs.
Hey, welcome to another episode of the High Impact Man podcast. This is D-Fib along with Dial Up, and we have a special guest back on for the second time, Cadre Danny, F3 Linus. He is the leader of Freedom Ops, and he's been doing that since basically the beginning of F3's adventure into these grow rucks. But he's doing something really cool called a Journey to Remembrance, or for Remembrance, coming up soon. And heard about it. He and I talked. I thought, well, you just got to come on here and see if we get the word out so people know what's going on. So that's what we're going to talk about. Dial Up. You know, we had a good beat down this morning. I know you couldn't make it because you could come across the bridge one way, but you can't go back the other way. So you're excused. Although you could have run to the...
Yeah, I don't know what it is. Like they do this railroad track repair, and this is the third time that they've done it. And for those not familiar with our area, Danville is our main town, and literally you cross the river into Riverside where I live. And yeah, so like every so many years they replace this railroad crossing and they put this railroad crossing in because it was supposed to fix the problem, so they never had to do it again. And yet, like, it seems like every 6 or 7 years they have to replace this railroad crossing. And yeah, they let us go across the river bridge to Danville, but you can't come back from Danville to Riverside. So just one way across the bridge. And so it's a 35 or so 40-minute drive to go to the next bridge, either north or south on the river to get back home. So
yeah, but I just got to give you some feedback. We had the first on-site
awesome
cafeteria that we've done in a while, and guys stayed there for at least 20 minutes longer. We were talking for a long time. So yeah, so that worked out. Pretty good discussion. The big
it was muggy this morning. Yeah, maybe we should say D-Fib's having a little bit of sound issues this episode. So hopefully when we run this through our AI tool, it'll clean it up for him. But yeah, just in case you're wondering and listening to this, we apologize for any decrease in the quality of our audio. And if need be, I'll jump in here and fill in for D-Fib. But yeah, it was muggy this morning because I did run, and it was one of those mornings that it was like heavy fog in the air, and so like you're just like it was just muggy, thick air.
All right, cool. All right, well, let's get to our brother Cadre Danny. So last time we had Cadre Danny on, he was not in the middle, but in a little bit somewhere in South Central America, I think, on his trek from the top of the world to the bottom of the world on a bicycle. And we talked to him since then because we met him at a GTE down in Cape Fear. Knew that he finished it, saw it on Facebook and all that kind of stuff. But I figured, Danny, first of all, welcome back to the podcast. Yeah. Second of all, why don't you bring us up?
Hold on, D-Fib. I'm going to jump in because I got trivia for you. You always like to ask questions. Do you remember how Linus, Cadre Danny, do you remember how he got his F3 name? It was about a blanket. What is the blanket called? It's the military issued blanket poncho liner. A whoopee, right? A whoopee.
You're correct. That's right.
Yeah.
Whoopee. I don't remember.
Yep.
As a matter
I did not cheat and look it up at all.
You remember that?
So I'm on the road traveling right now, and here is...
he's got a whoopee.
This is a whoopee.
There it is.
Now, this isn't the one I had in the Army. I had to turn that one in, but yeah.
Yeah, the lady confiscated it, right? And that's when it kind of hits you like, man, I've been everywhere with that thing.
Yeah, I was pretty attached to it. Hence the security blanket that my F3 buddies stuck me with, Linus being the Charlie Brown character that always sucks his thumb and has his little security blanket. But I pulled this bad boy over my head for about 4 hours this morning and took a roadside nap at a truck stop in Cheyenne, Wyoming. So yeah, my whoopee goes everywhere with me.
Nice. All right. Anyway, back to where we were going when D-Fib asked you, what have you been up to?
Well, just to finish the story of the Epic Bicycle Tour, which I spoke about when you guys invited me onto the show last time, about 3.5 years ago, I think it was. That was a trip that I did from Alaska to Argentina on my bicycle, solo, unsupported. It was kind of my attempt for some mental wellness that I think I needed. I was walking the earth, so to speak, but on two wheels. And numerous times I had to come home because of interruptions with border closures and route issues. So after I spoke with you guys, I flew back to South America, to Chile, Santiago, Chile, and then I finished out the last couple thousand miles of my bicycle journey, and I reached the end of the world, el fin del mundo, the farthest south you can go on a road in South America, at the very southern tip of the continent, a beautiful town called Ushuaia. So I arrived and wrapped up the epic bike tour. It was a little bit anticlimactic because I got there and it was a kind of a Forrest Gump moment. I was like, well, now what do I do? It's over.
You didn't turn around and start riding back north?
No. Nope. I took my bike apart. I boxed it up, and then I flew out of there about a day or two later. But yeah. So at that time, I was sort of in between GTEs. I was managing F3's Grow Ruck program. We had hosted a Cadre Academy and brought on new Cadre members. We were growing the capabilities of Grow Ruck. The GTEs were up to the, I think, mid 40s. As a matter of fact, I ran into you two in Wilmington, North Carolina at GTE 44 in some lovely November weather. I was telling DFib, we were texting, and I said, I grew up in Holden Beach, North Carolina, 30 miles down the coast from Wilmington, and I don't ever remember experiencing rain and cold like that night of GTE 44. That was some special weather, and it was,
for sure.
Mother Nature handed it to you guys that night. But we caught up briefly at that GTE. That event was also a feeder for the Leader Course 48. And I'm not sure if you guys even were able to see some of those activities happening all through the weekend. But what used to be Cadre Academy, we renamed that Leader Course 48 and opened it up to not only prospective event cadre, but any F3 man that would like to go through that 48-hour training. So your GTE class was able to validate those Leader Course 48 candidates. And then it wasn't long after that where F3 Nation experienced a leadership change in our Nantan, and Slaughter handed over the shovel flag to Dark Helmet. So in early 2024, Dark Helmet was trying to sort of streamline some of the mission distractions that F3 had sort of accumulated over its 10 or 12 years. And he made the decision to close down the Grow Ruck department. He felt that it didn't sit exactly in line with Plant, Grow, and Serve. So the existing team, the Grow Ruck team of cadre and trainers at that time, we felt an obligation to continue the GTEs and continue accelerating regional growth. Every man on our team is in his own right, an F3 leader. So the cadre team, we just decided to keep it going with our own private company called Freedom Ops. So out of Grow Ruck was born Freedom Ops. Same exact mission, same exact men leading it, the same GTE. We slightly changed what GTE stands for. It used to stand for Grow Ruck Training Event. Now GTE, we've changed it to mean Growth Training Exercise. In essence, it's the same event, although we have continued to refine it. And I think it's getting better and better and better. The Grow School curriculum is really dynamic, really powerful. We have the capability of customizing that. We begin to put mental wellness components into the curriculum. And anyway, so we're coming up on 2 years now where Freedom Ops outside of the F3 umbrella is doing its own thing. And we're up to, GTE 70 just happened last weekend in Marysville, Ohio. And we have 4 more GTEs to finish up this year. And about 20 members on our team, 20 qualified cadre and trainers. Most of our trainers are now dual qualified. So in the past, the trainers like Tinkerbell, like Power Clean, they taught growth school mainly, and then they transitioned to be what we call a PAX whisperer, during the night at the Crucible. But now most of our trainers have enough experience and have gone through some certification processes where they can also perform cadre duties, and vice versa. Our cadre are now teaching at growth school, so it's really come a long way. It's enhanced our capability. We're still seeing amazing growth at the region level in the weeks and months post GTE, and there's certainly a transformational impact at the individual level, and in the heart of each man that completes that event.
I'm curious, Danny, with the separation, I guess two parts of it that I think about then is like when you're doing exercises during the weekend, do you still use F3 terminology? Is a Merkin a Merkin, or is it just a push-up now? And then I guess the other part is during the during growth school, are you using Q-Source, or have you developed totally separate materials that you're using for that?
So we still use Q-Source as a reference, and about half of growth school is still focused squarely on the G3L formula, get right, leave right, and legacy. But what we found is trying to cram a lot of Q-Source into a 3.5 hour classroom is just too much. And it didn't allow us enough of the small group discussion where you really, really bond with your fellow classmates. So about 50% is pure Q-Source. And now we have a nutrition component that Bones from the Hunt for Wellness podcast, he developed this, and so there's a lot of Q&A that comes out of that because everybody wants to dial in their performance and their nutrition. As I said, we're now doing a little bit more focus on mental health and mental wellness, because that's a subject that all of us encounter, whether it's something that we're suffering with ourselves or someone in our concentrica, and certainly the PACs in our AOs. So that's a very important subject that we're now including. We have kind of a little bit, we've sort of watered down some of the F3 vernacular. We've taken out some of the excessive use of F3 language for simplicity purposes and to make it more digestible to F and Gs and to new F3 men. A lot of us that have been doing F3 for years, we don't even realize a whole sentence can be a slew of acronyms and F3 lexicon that an outsider doesn't know what we're talking about. So that kind of became a barrier. And so there's a little bit less of that. We don't always talk about our M and our 2.0. We might say wife and kids. It's okay to use normal English words. So, and the as far as the exercises, it's funny that you mentioned Merkin. Without getting on a soapbox, that is the one exercise that me personally, I never use that word. I always use push-up. As a matter of fact, yesterday morning I stopped in Boise, Idaho. Posted with Gopher, who's the Nantan there, and a lot of amazing men that came out to do the Freedom Ops 5 fundamentals of fitness. And one of those fundamentals is the push-up. And I explained why that at a Freedom Ops event, we will use the true name of that exercise, which is push-up, because we hold a certain standard on that exercise. And oftentimes, when people call it a Merkin and perform that variation of what should be a push-up, they do it incorrectly, and nobody's ever trained them how to do it, and nobody's ever enforced the actual push-up standard. So that's the one exercise that we'll use the traditional historic exercise that we Americans have used always. And when Dredd started saying America, and that evolved into a Merkin, it was a truly patriotic, proud thing. But now that exercise has kind of gone the other way. So feel free to join me in this push-up revolution if you like. Yeah, so Freedom Ops, we we do this little 90-minute training block called the 5 fundamentals of
So
fitness.
push-ups one.
And I picked the 5 main lifts and movements that need instruction. The things that we do in a beat down that nobody ever really showed us how to do it properly. So it starts with a squat, an air squat, body weight squat, which if you do that correctly, then you can do all the other squats correctly, like a sandbag squat, barbell, front squat, goblet squat, cinder block squat. The air squat is the basic building block of that. The push-up, as I already said, deadlift, and before, an F3 guy says, well, we don't do deadlifts. We don't have barbells at our AOs. Yeah, but you're picking up sandbags and rucksacks and sometimes casualties. Anytime you pick something up from the ground to your hips or to your waist, you've done a deadlift. So we teach the proper mechanics of that and the standard.
Mm-hmm.
And then the press or shoulder press, sometimes we call it that. And lastly, a clean. Those are the 5. And so in that training block, each person demonstrates mastery in that. In other words, they do it perfectly. And then they...
Well, you broke up, brother.
Hang on.
The solar eclipse? Is that what it
Lost
is?
you.
Is that going on now? The solar eclipse?
I think it's the solar eclipse dial-up.
I know there's some bad weather in the Midwest.
Mm-hmm.
You have me back now?
I think it happened yesterday. Yeah, we lost you, man.
I mean, on my end, I got 5 bars and I can see you guys clearly, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, you're looking good right now.
Okay, so each
No,
guy
we can hear
demonstrates
you
the
now.
5 exercises perfectly, and then they coach it to the others. They teach it to the others. And what are the standards of movements? What are the common faults and how to fix those? And then how to safely modify that for somebody who either reaches muscle failure or somebody that might have an injury or a disability. And then lastly, the variations of each of those. So some alternatives that you can mix into your training. Clean.
I caught 4 of them. So the push-up, the
Like a
squat,
power
the
clean?
deadlift, the overhead press. What was the 5th one?
Clean.
Say it
CLEAN.
again.
Clean.
Yeah. Say the 5th. What's the 5th fundamental of fitness again? Cleans. Okay. Thank you. That one came through.
Well, right this moment, I'm traveling from Tacoma, Washington, where I live, to Boston, Massachusetts. I'm in North Platte, Nebraska. So about a third of the way through the journey. I'm in the Ruck Truck 2.0. I got a bed full of gear and picking up the Freedom Ops trailer, which has been...
All right, hum a few.
All right, yeah, so I'm driving to Boston. I'm about to start a Freedom Ops Endeavor event called the Journey of Remembrance. This is a 22-day event in memory of 9/11, and it will start on August the 21st at Boston Logan International Airport, and it will end on September the 11th, 2026 at the Pentagon, 25 years after the Al-Qaeda attacks of 2001. So during the Journey of Remembrance, 17 of the days will be walking on foot. So in essence, rucking. I'll have a rucksack on, but folks that join me can either walk, run, bear crawl, however. And then 5 of the 22 days will be cycling days. And I have distributed the cycling days after difficult rucking days, just to allow the feet to recover, and also to make up some of the big mileage gaps that we have to cover. So a combination of walking and bicycling.
Gotcha. All right. How can people track you? Because it's going to be
Yeah, on Facebook, Freedom Ops Endeavor has a page, and there will be updates and live videos and shout outs, and that'll be the primary landing spot to follow. Also, Freedom Ops itself has a Facebook page, and then on my personal page, Cadre Daniel on Facebook, there'll be content on all of those. And there's also...
Okay. And as you go through these, the different areas, you're going to be going through different F3 regions. Are you contacting those regions? Guys could come out and
As a
join
matter
you?
of fact, every morning before we step off, we'll do a 30-minute, very simple workout, mainly like a warm up and stretch out. And so I'm trying to get guest cues from F3 Nation, specifically from the regions that I'm walking through, to come to the base camp each morning and cue that in hopes that non-F3 participants who are joining me can see how F3 does things, and then also those F3 men can see and interact with the 9/11 participants as well. So a little cross pollination.
Yeah, that's good. And so your route's going to take you down from Boston, but before getting to the Pentagon, you're going to
Correct. Yeah. So the concept here is I'm going to all three airports that had planes hijacked from, or in other words, where those aircraft took off from before they were hijacked. So Boston is where the two planes that hit the Twin Towers that took off from. So that's the starting point. Segment 1 of the journey will take us to Ground Zero at the World Trade Center in Manhattan, and from there we will hop across the river to Newark. Newark is where the aircraft that crashed in Shanksville was took off from before it was hijacked. So from Newark, we'll cross New Jersey, and then across the southern part of Pennsylvania to the National Flight 93 Memorial, just outside of Shanksville. And that's segment 2. And then the final segment from PA, we will pass by Dulles International Airport, where American 77 took off from before it struck the Pentagon. And so segment 3 will take us from McConnellsburg, PA, down through Harpers Ferry. And in essence, the C&O Canal Path is our primary route. We'll pass by Purcellville and Leesburg, and then Georgetown, and then right into Arlington. And the plan is to arrive at the memorial site next to the Pentagon exactly at 9:37 a.m. on Friday, September the 11th.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's a lot of work. When are you contacting any local news agencies or anybody, or national news agencies? Anybody going to cover you?
Reach out to some of the local news affiliates, especially while in New England. And I think if we can get an audience with one news producer, then all of the other affiliates will pick it up, because they like to compete for those stories. So, but yeah, it's been quite a lot of planning and coordinations. I've been working on this I dreamt this up about a year ago, but it's really been the last 6 months that I've been doing, dedicated planning for this journey of remembrance. And so, a lot of things still need to be done, a lot of final coordinations, such as some of those press kits. But yeah, if anybody wants specific route information and they want to come join me for a day or for a mile, or they want to see what each route is on any given day, on the Freedom Ops website, there's a tab there called the 9/11 Journey of Remembrance. And you click on there and you can see days 1 through all the way through day 22, and it'll tell you the start point and the end point on each of those days. Most of them I have built out too, where you'll see the actual route on that day and the checkpoints and our lunch stop area and all that. There's a few days I still need to upload those specific details, but most of them are there on the Freedom Ops website.
Yeah, we'll get that link attached to the podcast too, so that folks can get to it really quick.
Well, that's yeah. I was looking at your website just a little while ago, and got a quick question for you about that. Let's see. I was looking at the events. There's like a GTE that's the numbers didn't seem to match up. Are they different type of GTEs? So there's like GTE 74 at Blue Ridge, but there's GTE 71 at Kansas City.
The numbers
after it, so
aren't chronological. We serialize the GTE numbers based on when an event is booked, or when it is scheduled. So Kansas City, they booked their event over a year early. So they got the next number, which was available, which is number 71, and then Blue Ridge 74. They didn't book theirs until I want to say, I don't know, I think it was January or February of this year. So yeah, sometimes they get out of order because it's not according to the date; it's according to when that region actually confirms that they want the GTE. I've done a portion of it. So in 2001, I did which was the correction. In 2021, which was the 20th anniversary of 9/11, I walked from Boston to New York City. And so I'm going to repeat that. So yeah, I've done a portion of this before.
Yeah, I thought so. Okay. Well, that's cool, man. That's such a commitment and a lot of logistics involved there. Like, how are you going to,
Yeah, it's a lot of logistics planning. I've got the route dialed in. I've got most of our RON sites, rest overnight. We've got base camps set up all along the way. A couple of times we're in Airbnb houses. The rest of the time we're just camping out. That's why I've got a lot of equipment with me. I've got tents and cots and coolers and ice makers and all kinds of stuff. But I've had, as with anything, there's always last minute contingencies. So my support driver pulled out at the last minute. So I'm trying to recruit another driver. We have every day a requirement we'll have to either shuttle people to the start point or pick people up from the end point and bring them back to the start point. So every single day there's a lot of ground transportation to do, and I won't be able to do that myself because I'll be leading the group of people walking that day. So the support vehicle and is that's a role I still have to fill. And then we've got, as people are coming in and going out, we've got airport pickups and airport drop-offs. We've got Gold Star family members showing up. We've got partnering organizations like the Summit Project and others that are integrating with us. So certainly a lot of coordinations. This is the biggest event I've ever planned, and the biggest event to date for Freedom Ops Endeavor, which I haven't explained to you yet what Endeavor is. It's a little bit different than Freedom Ops. So I might need to give a quick plug to Team Endeavor if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
So Freedom Ops is in
ahead.
alignment with a nonprofit organization called Freedom Ops Endeavor. And ideally, we can kind of share some of the same resources, some of the same personnel are leading the events. But, if Freedom Ops is focused on leadership development as its primary mission, Freedom Ops Endeavor, it's focused on practical use of that leadership to empower people to overcome adversity. So I'll tell you how this got started. Last year, an Army friend of mine who was wounded in combat and has got some chronic, injuries, some disabilities. He had a goal. He had a dream. He wanted to climb to the equivalent height of Denali, the highest mountain in North America, 20,000 some feet. And he asked me if I could help him to put a plan together. And so we decided to go to the state of Maine and climb Cadillac Mountain 13 times. And that would equal that would equal the height of Denali.
Yeah.
And so I had to, build a roster. We did this relay style. So build a roster of hikers and support personnel and establish a base camp and get everybody to Acadia National Park. And we decided to, since we knew we had to do it 13 times, we wanted to memorialize the 13 fallen heroes from the Abbey Gate bombing in Kabul, Afghanistan in 2021 when the U.S. forces withdrew from that country. And there was a Marine contingent that was targeted by a suicide bomber. And some 270 Afghans were killed, unfortunately, and 13 U.S. service members. So we had a cinder block with each one of those names painted on it, and we carried 13 cinder blocks to the summit of Cadillac Mountain. And we achieved mission success. And my buddy Josh, he realized his dream. But more importantly, we built this community of hikers over the course of that weekend that just had some powerful bonding and enrichment, and where they had to exercise real leadership, not the canned stuff that we do at GTE where it's notional, where, there's a notional casualty and you've got to move them to the casualty collection point, or here's an implement of woe, a log that you have to, take over there. And by this certain amount of time, we were on we were on the sharp edge of the rope on Cadillac Mountain, scrambling up boulders, weather coming in on us, sleep deprived, navigation problems. I mean, it got real. And, we had one amputee, we had a total of 4 disabled veterans. And we were still able to achieve mission success. Coming out of that, everybody wanted to keep the momentum going. We realized the positive effect in how this type of endeavor prevents suicide. So we stood up a nonprofit that could keep doing these kind of things. And it's called Freedom Ops Endeavor. Let me tell you the mission statement of Freedom Ops Endeavor. To forge strength, fortify community, and fracture the darkness in order to overcome adversity through teamwork and empowerment. You guys being F3 men, you could probably see some similarities. Where I'm coming from as an F3 man, the forging strength, fortifying community, and fracturing the darkness. Those are my 3 Fs. But those 3 lines of effort, they kind of distill down to the individual person, which is the strength, the collective tribe, if you will, the community, and then fracturing the darkness. We know all too well that evil is lurking around us always. And, we don't see the evil in the darkness, but it's there. It's ever present. And when someone takes their own life, it's at a moment when that darkness has overpowered the light. And so the way to defeat that and to fracture that is in a team environment through empowerment, doing something difficult, doing something near impossible. That's what will defeat the enemy, defeat that darkness. So that's what Team Endeavor is about, and that's why we're doing something epic on the 25th anniversary of 9/11 this year.
Nice. Well, that's a valiant thing to do, man. I'm really I didn't know about Freedom Endeavor. That's pretty cool. A lot of guys out there certainly need it. So I'm glad you're able to share that on our podcast. So hopefully a lot of men hear this and take advantage of it. Especially the guys that really need it. It's good stuff, man.
Next year, we are slowly building that, and this is on demand by F3 regions. So we're no longer going out trying to find regions that want to do GTEs. We're allowing those regional leaders, those Nantans and those SLTs, to come to us and commit to hosting GTE. Right now, there's only 2 so far that have hard committed, and those are Memphis, which will be in April, and Soil, Illinois, which I think it's May. I'll have to get back to you on the Soil GTE. There's several more that are in discussion, but those are the 2 that are actually hard commits at this point.
Yeah. So if you're looking at a region that's interested, what are you looking for? Is anything specifically have to be there available?
There's a kind of a maturity arc to every F3 region, and so there needs to be enough of a population of F3 men where it can sustain the cost. Freedom Ops invests quite a bit of money into every GTE, and so we have to charge a registration fee in order to cover those costs. So, we're looking for 40 or 50 men to sign up for that, so that the company doesn't lose money as we invest and pour into your region. There also needs to be a bit of a rucking culture, so to speak, because the GTE is based on ruck fitness. Some regions, they don't really conduct rucking, or they might be new to it. So that's something that needs to be developed in that region if they're to host a GTE. We have an alternative to rucking. We have some F3 regions where there's a strong running affinity, and so we can do a variation called the growth running exercise, and we just replace the weights with team building challenges involving running. Geography is immaterial. We can do a GTE anywhere. And let me see, what other I guess those are the main factors I guess we look at. Well, actually, no, let me mention one more, because this is something that's sort of bitten us in our fourth point of contact a couple of times. We really need to have the regional leadership support the GTE and lean into its success. It's crazy to think, we've had a couple regions that the Nantan didn't even do the event. The SLT didn't do the event. They were unwilling to shut down like other AOs on a given Saturday to come to the King Builder because they had different priorities. And so that's a little bit discouraging when our cadre team is investing so much into the growth of a region, yet that region's leadership, doesn't even come to the event. So
that's very interesting.
So I need to have like a pretty good assurance that the Nantan,
Right.
or if there's going to be a Nantan, shovel flag handover at some point, I'd like to talk to the incoming Nantan just to make sure that he's going to support the event.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's one of my hopes is that our region can at some point host a GT or a GRE dial up. I don't know, even a GRE, but so far we only have one guy who's actually participated in a GTE. So, and we do not have a rucking culture here. We don't have any rucking workouts right now. So, well, I take that back. There's a couple that you could ruck at, but, and some guys do sometimes, but it isn't.
Yeah. It's been interesting that we just you've made several attempts. We've made several attempts to get like a rucking culture going, and it just hasn't got on. Like running, people show up, they run, and Danville, like for a small town, it is kind of a running community. I talk about that, like for a small town, like there's lots of folks that are out running all the time, but rucking just hasn't caught on, and there are so many benefits. For me personally, I'm a runner, so I like to run. But when I do ruck, like when I do the overnight ruck for our PA convergence, and even when I did the GT event, like the rucking culture is great because like you're slowed down. You're not worrying about breathing quite as much as when you're running. You're not worrying about matching paces quite as much. Like it's an equalizer, I guess, is what I would say. Like running, there's got the fast guys, the slow guys. When it comes to rucking, I think that band kind of narrows and everybody kind of comes together a little bit as far as being able to ruck at a similar pace and be comfortable to carry on good, deep conversations with the brothers that are rucking around you and beside you. For some reason, it just hasn't caught on here, but so we won't give up, DFEB. We'll keep working at it.
I can't do it because of my back, but
well, I was just to add on to dial-up's comment. It's really good. It lends itself to fellowship. Rucking is really good for fellowship, and that's why so many regions do when they do their 30-30s. They'll ruck because you're at a conversational pace and it's pretty low intensity. Maxime out of Pittsburgh, he is now a qualified cadre. He's on the Freedom Ops team, and he's been advocating for a GTE for years in PA. And personally, I love the city of Pittsburgh. I love all the stairs, and I think it would be the coolest place to do a GTE. But it's a hard sell there for some reason. Can't really get the local packs behind it. And
man, the Sunriser up on top of the hill. What do they call that? The incline?
Yeah.
What's the name of that hill? I can't think of the name of it, but yeah, Sunriser up on top of the hill there, overlooking the city. That'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah, that would be neat.
Yeah, I told you at the GTE 44, I was talking to you. I said it would be the really cool GTEs to have it at Gettysburg, but unfortunately, I don't think you could get on there, even if you wanted to. We actually have a region there now. I think we have an F3 Gettysburg that just started up, but they're not very big yet.
Yeah, GoRuck has done quite a few events in Gettysburg, but they kind of
agree.
Well, I don't want to say something incorrect. They tend to kind of just do it without asking permission.
Yeah, sometimes it's better to ask for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission.
Yeah, that can work sometimes. But yeah, if you've got a
Right.
huge class and you're creating a big signatures, you're gonna get caught, and then they're gonna have you leave and possibly face fines. But I agree. I think Gettysburg would be a terrific place. Have a historical theme, and it's a big enough. The town of Gettysburg itself could pretty much host the GTE and the surrounding areas, and then maybe we do like some little historical vignettes into the battlefield. I mean, I think it can be done with proper coordination, but it was kind of the same issue with Valley Forge, and we had to cancel the Valley Forge GTE that C-SPAN had set up because nobody signed up for it. But the whole time we were doing mission planning on Valley Forge, I was like, this is a national park. It's going to be so difficult for us to get in there. But different than Gettysburg, Valley Forge, there's really no surrounding roadways that accommodate pedestrians. And it's a really unsafe place to be rucking around.
Yeah. I hear you, man. All right.
Well, I have to just acknowledge the terrific work that you guys have done. I can't believe you're up into the 200s now on your episodes. And it's so cool to highlight the hymns that you bring on, but just what amazing men are doing, and to give them a platform and to hear their stories. And I think that's so cool. I'm honored that you would invite me on again, and it's been enjoyable to talk about Freedom Ops Endeavor. I really hope to see a lot of F3 men join me on this journey of remembrance as we pay homage to the victims that were lost, and there were thousands on 9/11/01, and also the heroes of that day. And then, of course, all the sacrifices that were made by our military in the subsequent war on terror that persisted for 2 decades following 9/11.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's an honor for us to do it, to talk to the men. I mean, Dial Up and I say it's just a blessing for us to hear guys' stories and be able to sit here and talk to the guys. And I can't tell you how often we are surprised by what some guys end up sharing, because we ask, a lot of guys are recommended now, but they're recommended for one reason. We get a bio from them, and all of a sudden they're on here telling us about some, serious stuff that happened to them, and things that they've done and how they've overcome it and stuff. And a lot of times we're just as surprised probably as people listening. But it's a labor of love for us. So appreciate your kind words and really appreciate what you're doing, man. This 25 years is kind of a long time. So I kind of think about, like, when I was 25, that was a long time ago, 35 years ago. 35 years ago, what was that? 80s, 19, what was I? 76, 86, 96. Yeah. So it was like early 90s. And to think back 25 years before that, like, I have no memory of that. Right. And so how many kids have been born now that are, or really young then that they didn't live through it. I mean, they didn't experience it because they either can't remember or they weren't born yet. And it's important to continue to remember and have memorials set up, but to do things that, like, you're doing, it's incredibly important, I think, for us, because we have short memories. We have short memories. And one of the things that people should remember is how it united us.
That's so true. I mean, think back to September the 12th, 2001. Nobody gave a shit about your politics. Everybody wanted, to take the fight to the enemy, and we were truly united on that day.
Yeah.
And we need a little bit more of that. I mean, without a horrific tragedy happening, but we need a little bit more of that solidarity, don't we? Yeah.
Yeah. And there's a lot of forces trying to divide us apart. Dial Up, I didn't tell you this. I told the guys this morning, I'm finishing up a podcast on econ talks, not about economics. It's actually a podcast that Dredd had recommended. So I listen to them sometimes, but they have a guy in there. I can't remember his first name. His last name is Sass. He was a senator from Nebraska, and then he was a president of the University of Florida. The guy has terminal pancreatic cancer, and he is so smart and so articulate, talking about our country how the things that we have to remember and how our education system is failing us, but also he shared his faith in what he's going through in this, stage 4 terminal disease. But he said at one point he was on the intelligence committee, I guess, or something, or he got the intelligence. And I guess some of us know this, but most people probably don't. A lot of the things you see on social media, the comments and stuff, or the things that are posted on there, aren't real. They're made by bots, by China and Russia, who are purposely creating division by putting things out there that are inflammatory, and and they're doing it on purpose to divide us. And so there are evil powers at work to divide us. And so what Cadre Danny is doing is so important to help us remember, not just remember the tragedy, but let's remember the response, which was we were unified in purpose. And we
Amen
came together,
to that.
just like Cadre Danny said, nobody cared about the politics. He actually said that there was one debate going on social media, and each side was more than 70% created by bots in Russia. And it was like almost all
I always say that, like, when it comes to social media, news sources, whatever it might be, like if we really sit down and talk to our neighbors, talk to our friends, talk to our colleagues in a meaningful discussion where we're not just talking, but we're listening, hearing the other person's views and having good dialect back and forth, we're really all a lot closer than media, including social media, makes us appear. You would think that we're miles apart to the left and to the right, when in reality, like we're really close together, in what we think is right and wrong and core values and philosophies on things. Yeah, there's definitely things that we go one way or another a little bit, and we might be pretty far apart on, but when it comes to most things, like there's a lot more common ground that we want to see. And you talk about social media, like if you watch The Social Dilemma, I remember at the end, like one of the questions they ask, and this is them asking one of the folks that helped develop the algorithms and the tools and has social media working the way that it does. He's like, they ask him what his biggest fear is as far as outcomes of the dilemma that we've created now with social media. And he responds with like civil war, like literally that it could create a civil war in our country. And that's just like really scary to think about.
Oh, we can't let that happen.
Yeah. It could even get worse with AI. Well, Cadre Danny, appreciate you. Yeah, I know. Appreciate you being on, brother. Thanks for all that.
DFib. I was looking like at the route. Like, we'll definitely want to keep our packs up to date as far as where he's at, and if we can clown car down, or if anybody's free, and we can get someone down to join you for a day as you're kind of passing through kind of southern PA. It looks like how you're going. Like, it'd be awesome to get down and join you for a portion of a day. So hopefully we can do that. Get a couple of folks down there to support you in some way.
That would be terrific. I know you guys live a couple hours north of that route, but like the 2nd through the 6th of September, I'll be hitting like York, Gettysburg, Chambersburg, Bedford, and into Shanksville. Yeah, if anybody's able to come down and intercept the route and walk a few miles, that would mean the world. I would really embrace that.
Yeah, I think you'll definitely get some good support there, because man, when you're coming through like York and that area, we're pretty strong in those regions down there, and we have some regions out in the Bedford area now. So yeah, I think you'll see some good support from the F3 guys that are out there.
Yeah, I hope so. Maxine put me in touch with Hello Kitty out of Bedford, so I'm hoping to get a good group of guys from there.
Yeah, man, I'll be on my Yeah, you guys will be doing that, and I'll be on a cruise ship for my 60th birthday down in the Caribbean. So I'm sorry.
Shocking news. Deep's on a cruise.
But I will be enjoying my birthday cruise.
Amazing. Well,
my double respect cruise. You bicycle down, from the North Pole to the South Pole. I just go on cruises. All right, brother. God bless you. Thanks for all you do. Appreciate you being on, man.
Sounds great. Take care, guys.
Thank you for listening to this week's episode. I would like to thank our guests for joining us and sharing their story of becoming a high-impact man. More information and resources can be found at highimpactman.com. If you like this podcast, please consider following us on our social media pages or email us at him@highimpactman.com. That is HIM at highimpactman.com. The High Impact Man podcast has a new episode every week, and you can find them on Apple Podcast, Spotify, and Google Podcast platforms. Have a great week, everyone.